war. You got the flag bearer who's running up to the enemy to lead the rest of the troops. They get shot. He falls down. Flag hits the ground. Nobody says, "Whoop, hold on. Got to get a new flag because that one touched the ground." No. They pick that one. The first person near it picks it up and keeps running with it. But here's my issue with them. I said they need to lighten up and just take in the picture for what it means. Its symbol. Not that it's touching the ground. Because, frankly, if you're going to go the old-fashioned route, because the old-fashioned flag rules of etiquette, as it were yes, if the flag hit the ground, that the flag could no longer be flown. It must be burned in a ceremony. But those old-fashioned flag etiquette rules also basically said the only thing that the flag is for, or can be for, etiquette-wise, is for display. And it cannot be used in any other manner. Now that means that, hey, all the kids that are wearing T-shirts with the flag on them going to school, their principals are probably right if you're going to go by old standards. That's disrespecting the flag. According to old etiquette, it is. Having the flag depicted on your shirt, your hat, your pants is disrespecting the flag. Having your flag on pockets. I've seen lots of people with flag patches on their pockets. Well, now they're sitting on the flag. That's a disrespect to the flag. So you can't have a flag on your mug. No. And for all of you people who do all sorts of other things with the flags, like wrap yourself in the flag, even if it's not touching the ground, that's a no-no. So when I bring this up, they go, oh, well, no, that's okay. Really? So we're going to pick and choose now. Did you also know that it was against flag etiquette to fly your flag at night? How many people still do that? If we're going by old-fashioned etiquette, then the only thing that you can possibly do with the flag is drape the coffin of the war dead and fly it. That's it. No hanging it on the wall as far to make it an art piece. Nope, not at all. There's no letting it fly at night in the darkness. Nope. Not unless you have a light pointed on it. And you're on a military or U.S. installation. If you're at your home, old etiquette rules are flag comes down at sunset. That's it. So you people who are being upset at whoever the photographer was of this picture and at me for sharing it. Shame on you for being hypocrites. All I look at it as is somebody who is heartfully showing their patriotism. Plain and simple. This whole notion that just because, a small portion of it actually touches the ground is somehow demeaning to the flag. No, the symbol of the flag is what that baby was all about. Wish we had more people who would do that with their kids and explain it to their kids as they grow up. This flag represents the greatest nation on the planet. Wrap yourself in it. Always. By the way, it means no, speaking of wrapping yourself in it, it means no flag blankets or blanket throws. It means no flag shawls. Plain and simple. In any case, I am not going to stop finding and sharing true patriotic symbols of freedom in the form of photographic evidence. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Sorry, can't help you. All I can say is you need to lighten up. When they said there is no lightning up when the flag touches the ground. Really? Somebody's got your lunch. But sometimes you gotta laugh. And sometimes I just look at it, and they keep responding after I explain, and I'm not the type of person that has to get in the last word. I'm not that type of person. So I'll look at something and just say, okay, I've said what I needed to say. I've said made my argument, and you guys want to run around in circles, fine. I'm not. Moving on. Because you know what they say, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Bring the facts to somebody. You bring the absolute facts to somebody, and they still want to believe the way they want to believe, then you're not going to change their mind, so why continue the conversation? Go on about your business. See? Go on about your business. Speaking of going about your business, looks like there's more wins on the Republican side after yesterday's off-season or off-term or midterm election. Well, it's not even a midterm; it's just an off-term because it's not last year, 14. It's an off-year election. Was it Oklahoma elected a new governor? This is the same guy that went to Kentucky to stand by the clerk who wouldn't issue gay marriage licenses because of her staunch religious beliefs. I know people who try to tear that apart all the time. And again, hey, it's just like with the flag, people pick and choose all the time. If we actually went by verbatim. Granted, this would be a entirely different society and an entirely different planet. If Christians actually lived in this whole notion that, you can't eat ham. No, that's not the case. But if we were to actually go by the Judeo-Christian ethic, verbatim, people wouldn't be getting divorced. There would be no crime. People would not be defending their so-called Christian denomination because there wouldn't be any. That's right. There wouldn't be Protestants. There wouldn't be Catholics. There wouldn't be Mormons. But we get all of this stuff because why? We pick and choose. Plain and simple. So we go to the polls and we pick and choose among candidates. And it looks like, I got a story here that even, let's see, where was this? But the sheriff out in the San Francisco area who released the illegal immigrant that ended up murdering an American citizen female that got this whole illegal immigrant sanctuary city thing going, he was resoundingly beaten in his reelection bid. So even out in California, even out in the Bay Area, people are leaning more conservative. They don't want these nut jobs in office, and if they can get them out, they're getting them out. So basically, Republicans picked up more seats all across the country in this off-season election. And the GOP is still, out there. Well, we can't pander to the extreme right. Well, you know what? You're missing the whole thing, because that extreme right base is what's keeping you in power. We keep voting for conservatives. We keep voting Republican. We keep trying to tell you what we want. The American people keep trying to tell their state legislatures in Washington, D.C. what they want. And state legislatures and Washington, D.C. continue to ignore what the people want. So the people are saying, well, fine, we're just going to start getting rid of all of you. It started in 2010. Now, 5 years later, the trend is continuing. You have these people that are jumping up and down for joy because they say that the Tea Party has lost support and the influence of the Tea Party has waned. Oh, no, it hasn't. It has not. If anything, the Tea Party movement has increased. But see, as the Tea Party was born as a grassroots movement, it had to evolve and keep its grassrootness, if you will. And now it isn't so much that people are running around in a party like, Democrat or Republican or Libertarian. No. The Tea Party was never meant as a political party. It was a political movement. And a movement is not something that you can categorize into a typical standard party. And because it is not typified and exonerated in a typical political party, it looks like that maybe it's losing steam, and it's not. What's happening is it's remaining grassroots and going even more grassroots, where people are just individualizing it, and now they're doing what I've been telling people to do all the time. Talk to your neighbors, your friends, your family, and your coworkers. And evidently, these are what these people are doing. Because it seems like every election cycle since 2010, except for a small blip in 2012, there has been an overwhelming support for Republican candidates and conservative Republican candidates. Now, if the Tea Party was losing steam and conservatism was losing steam, we'd start to see the numbers go the other way, but the numbers continue to go in the direction of the right. So, people like Boehner, people like McConnell, people like McCain, they're out of touch. They're out of touch with the American public, and what Americans don't want to look. A lot of these. This started with what was the proposition out in California for gay marriage when it was turned down originally? That Proposition 8. And what shocked the LGBT community as how many of the minority, especially the African American community, voted gay marriage down. The number was like 85% of blacks voted. Even after they tried to say, well, it's a civil right, it's just like civil rights, it's just like blacks, it's just like that kind of, and African Americans were not having any of it. So every time that the LGBT community tries to bring something to a vote, or the left tries to bring something to a vote to the American people, 99% of the time it is resoundingly rejected. As a matter of fact, the only reason why we have most of this stuff, this political correct garbage, is simply because they were able to find judges who were willing to write law from the bench instead of interpret the law. But if it were to remain as far as the Constitution and what the American people wanted, the left wouldn't have the majority of the stuff that they have. So this is something that those that are in power need to fully understand. The American people keep reminding them that they want them to be more conservative and just do what they say they're going to do. Period.